So you get to be my psychiatrist again because I'm tired and I'm making a video for nobody because nobody watches it. What I wanted to say is that I was born good and yeah, had a good nature. And I grew up, and things happened to me that weren't good. But I realized as I got older that people didn't really want the good; they wanted the bad. That's what it was. Uh, I realized this because of how people would treat the truth. What if they wanted to lie? I've been taken away by the police and put in a hospital, like forced to stay in a hospital for weeks at a time because somebody said that I was dangerous. Somebody would magically say that I was dangerous, and they had this thing. The cops abused me, and people abused me with the mental health system, and that was one of the things they did. Another thing how I knew that I was in for it is because they said you have to go to school, you have to get on the bus, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I didn't want to accept that. And they said, no, they'll essentially use violence and they'll tear a family apart if they don't send their child to school. Because, my parents had to work. So I said, well, that doesn't sit right. Well, that's not a good thing to do to somebody because, what if they're homeschooling their kid, and don't send them to the public school system, obviously. But if you can't do that, then you're going to have your family torn apart, your kid taken away. And it's like, well, there's society, a large group of people is saying this, believing this, and doing it, right? And then with the abuse of authority. And so when I picked up the Bible along the way, and I said, well, this is good. This is a good thing, so I'll keep this, right? And I've been reading it. And the Bible, what it does is it lays down a moral foundation for you. And it puts the bar pretty high for, it essentially tells you that you have to be perfect. Okay, that's the perfect moral standard, is being perfect. So the things that I read in the Bible warned me about all of this. The Bible was one of those books that I read, and I wasn't sure if it was true or not, but I'd read some things, the tenets of it, like, don't have sex with prostitutes, don't carouse and be a drunkard and things like that. That's all good advice. But then I saw the exact opposite being carried out by the masses of people, the society. So the more that happened, the more all those things happened, the more I realized that people didn't want the good; they wanted the bad. So that I had to, and if I was good to bad people, they'd be bad to me and hurt me, obviously. Well, it wasn't obvious to begin with. Now it's obvious. So I had to get hurt first. People decided that, oh, I'll hurt Owen because he's not bad. Because he's good, I'll hurt him. So it's like, okay, Owen continues to get hurt a lot. And then he starts to get mean. He starts to get angry. And he realizes that he has to match bad for bad with people who want to bang heads with him, right? Uh, he has to be as bad and worse than the people that are being bad to him, me. So I did. I went about that, and uh, being good, having a good nature where I don't like have the kind of vices that normal people have. I never really did find a good reason to be violent. There's a lot of violence going on today. People seem to want to prove that they're as angry and as bad as they say they are, plus some, by going and being violent is the next logical step for somebody who's trying to prove that they're the toughest guy who ever lived. Uh, yeah. So I never really had that. I did build up cruelty and spite and meanness, and it wasn't evil, right? But it was something that I had more or less on a leash that I could kind of sick on people. It's like, oh, you want to bring, this, you want to bring like your fornicating drunkard, and I can handle somebody who's a fornicator and a drunkard and an addict and a liar or whatever, as long as they're not harming people around them, right? But if you are, like, you can't come at me like that because I know all about it. I know the whole being bad philosophy back to front because God told me all about those types of people in the Bible. So I have really the answer to their evil prayer, and I can give it to them, right? And I have. So then it became this thing where that's all there was from people in society here in America. Is that's all there was a bunch of spite and all the bad stuff, right? Um, for the longest time, and me still being more or less good to where, uh, well, I guess I'll just because me and God. Well, God intervened in my life. God told me to essentially go over there and take back, not take back what's mine, but I don't like those people that steal, essentially, is what God said. Like, He had already saved my soul and delivered me and was in the process of it. There was still a lot of garbage in there, and there still is, but there was a ton of it then. And it was like, I don't like the people that have stolen from you and lied to you and brought this evil, this wickedness and this evil into your life and forced you to duplicate it in order to fit in and even have a life in society. So go over there and punish them. But you don't need a weapon, said God. You're not going to need a weapon because I'm telling you to do it. You don't need to train. You just need to go there and have all the faith you can have and do it, and it'll be done. So I started doing that. And there was violence, like fights, and it got to a point, it crescendoed to where there was all sorts of violence taking place from crooks, from young to old. It ran the spectrum. It ran the spectrum of color and all that. So I started getting angry because I felt as though they were disrespecting God. These criminals that had grown up or been shipped in from somewhere to do this violence. So I got it in front of everybody, the whole apartment complex, the whole world, if I could. I went to war, and I won. And then I had to step back and say, okay, like, it's over. Like, no more. You know, I'm not going to be the one to go do that again. Like, if people want to bring that to me, if they really want to, then that's on them. But with the violence and the evil and wickedness that was always in their hearts, because they were born of the world. That's all they've ever known, is this world and themselves and their bodies and each other. So it's only natural. And I could go on, I could extrapolate into a lot of things, but that cruelty, what happened is words got meaning, not words, but the meaning of words, the meaning of things got watered down and cheapened. For the longest time, it was like, oh, that good stuff, oh, that doesn't matter, right? And watered it down to where anything that had meaning suddenly is there's this shallow. But people don't really understand what it means, like words. People can't even comprehend how bad it seems to be getting. So where, oh man, you've got all these worldly people, and it's all they know, and it's all they do. Like, take communism, for instance. The government system of communism, communist government. Communist government doesn't care about how you feel about what they want to do to your body and your property. Like, your body is your property. And the communists come and say, no, I can do anything I want. I can put my hands on you any way that I want to because I come from the state. And communism gets into and touches and perverts everything about the individual's life, completely consumes the individual, and will either chew them up and swallow them or spit out communists who don't know any other way of life. And I think it's that that control scheme. There's a saying in the Bible that Jesus says that, what does he say? The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. When he talked about the disciples sending them out to cure demons and do all that, that's what he said. And you can be blown away by this or you can't. But, boy, nobody can really say that they got the treatment like I did. Oh, what I wanted to talk about is surveillance. So I went to communism to surveillance is what I wanted to talk about. How it seems like more and more, anything you do, somebody wants to know about it. And how annoying that is. How really annoying it is to have somebody who you don't know, who has this job, they say, to like collect and collect data on you and what you do and your habits. They say it's so they can sell you something. And I think what they're going to sell you in the end is like a freestyle triple bypass, quadruple bypass surgery from a carnival somewhere. Who knows? But they want to spy on you. And I just want to, I don't think they fully appreciate how annoying it is when you know you're being spied on, like on the internet. Like I'm playing video games, I'm playing a multiplayer computer game, right? And I just get the feeling that this program, like these programs that are out there, have back doors. Seemingly every one of these programs has a big swinging back door that you can just walk into and out of and pick up any kind of info on whoever's using that program that you want. And they say, oh, look at me, I'm so powerful. It's like, you're so annoying. Go away. There was a guy when I was a kid who came up to me and said, hey kid, he was a nut. He was a nut job. I'm going to get your permanent record. I said, oh yeah? He said, yeah, I'm going to get your permanent record because I want your identity because I like the way you look. I said, oh, okay, no, you can't have it. You can't have my identity. You can never have my identity, I said. My identity is mine until the day I die, and then it dies with me. You can pretend to be me, but you'll only be an imposter, a fraud, and you're going to sell yourself out, your own identity. You're going to sell that out completely, right? Because you don't care enough about who you really are. That's not, you know, like you seem to know that that's not good enough for the world or society or God or whatever. So you've got to steal somebody else's that you want. So we got into this conversation about how he can't ever have it. And then he said that he would get it. So I said, what if I went about ruining my reputation and my identity to the point where it was so soiled? It was like, I don't even want to get into the imagery about what it's like. But my identity, if you were to steal it and try to wear it and say you look like me, that it would grab you, hell would reach up and grab you from the gonads to the soul and start pulling you down, right? Say, oh my God, and like then the cops would show up and say, are you a terrorist? Answer the question, are you a terrorist? And you're going, what? What do you show up and ask him out of the blue that? So that happened. And then they take you to the hospital and all this different shit. And you're a terrorist, because I'm on every list. Because when I was a little kid, they never did defeat that little kid inside of me that would be like, yeah, shut up. You know, when I was, yeah, shut up. To the doctor or the dentist or whoever, like, if you're not going to treat me with respect, like, F you. You know, what are you going to do about it? And every pencil-pushing permanent record prick that ever lived had to hear it from me. So they wrote down the most scathing report. And they continued to do it. And then they fell in love with me, all these people. And I don't even know who they are. Yeah, that's the important gap here. It's the gap of what's important to who. I don't know who or what you even are, yet you know and wear everything. You're trying to wear my clothes around that you took out of the closet when no one was looking. Kind of an idea. Better get the identity. And the government's the worst offender, because they're gonna document everything they say in some database somewhere. So whereas if they need it, it's like, no, they have teams and teams and teams of severely dysfunctional mental people who will sift through all of that or find a certain someone that they want to cyber stalk relentlessly. That's why the whole Facebook thing, oh, welcome to you being a victim from some asshole on the internet who's not who he says he is. All right, lying to you, trying to tell you that you won like an all expenses paid cruise vacation to go see so and so sexy artist down in like, you know, past the Bermuda Triangle somewhere. So, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go and get on the ship because you're not realizing that Facebook and all that is just it's just a hook. It's a meat hook that they get into you, and then they start leading you around, telling you what to do. And I guess I'm gonna leave it here like this. You know, Facebook and Twitter. That's where that is. But I think that there is either a parasite. There is a parasite that got allowed to prosper and overtake a host a long time ago, and they've been replicating this parasite, and this parasite is inside of people. And the parasite, after it's so strong and already so developed that once it gets into you, it dictates your emotional responses and how you feel and what you do to a large extent, which is why a lot of people are carbon copies of each other. Then there's the prion. The prion is this thing that gets in your brain, I'm pretty sure, and it corrupts your brain and your thinking process. And it's hard to find out, it's hard to discover it inside of somebody because it's inside of the brain. And also, people acting kind of strangely or being weird is normal nowadays, right? So I think that's why you have a lot of these policies that you've got and this kind of activism that you're seeing is that they're a host to unclean entities, as parasites or a sickness or a disease has been going around. And if I didn't listen to God and not drink blood and not do that kind of stuff, I'd probably be right there along with them. You know, all kind of pointless and nothing but a whole lot of anger and towards violence to prove that you're the baddest guy again. To do that again. Like, how many times are we going to go back to the beginning? And I'll tell you that nobody's the baddest guy. If you want to see the baddest guy, you know, you find somebody who's really good and start abusing them and give it 20, 25 years of 30, 35 years of you abusing this person, and then turn around, then you'll find out who the toughest, meanest, baddest guy is. You know. But I think that that parasite or the prion idea explains why people cannot see what is right in front of them as far as being manipulated. You know, people, like if I flash a few dollar bills or a $5 or a 10 or 20 and flash it around, suddenly I got friends, you know what I mean? Oh, okay, so gonna get manipulated like that with money, because what's the next best thing if you don't have God? It's money. Money and stuff. So, and also, there's this undercurrent of Satanism. that a lot of people, the people that like to lie and do that, like parts of the media in this country, the propagandists, um, hang on, just gonna get into propaganda for you, how that's a war crime, and tied up in a nice little bow with another little moral and piece of wisdom. But no, because I don't wanna.